In 2023, I took a year off social media and my life drastically changed. I share exactly how in this video. Hi, my name is Sonia and I help reserved women over 30 bloom quietly into their best selves and lives. If you're feeling uninspired, you know your life needs to change. There's certain aspects you're unhappy with, but you just can't make that shift, I invite you to watch this video. There was a time I felt really lost. I could not hustle my way out of this fog that I found myself in, but I knew something needed to change, and surprisingly the answer came in doing nothing. I just moved back home to Harare, Zimbabwe after living over 12 years in Johannesburg, South Africa. I had let go of my career in corporate South Africa and real estate. I was still coaching. I was still running my coaching business, but that was like sort of teetering off. I felt really unfulfilled. I felt like I kept doing the same thing over and over with no changes, no results, beneficial results. And I felt stuck. I was disenchanted with life. I felt really numb. I was not inspired at all. And I was hollow. I felt hollow. That's the best way to describe that. And I needed a lifeline desperately. As a result, at the top of 2023, I made a decision to go off social media. I wasn't sure how long I would take time off, but I needed an indefinite break from all the noise. And so I was not actively posting or sharing on any platforms. I instead chose to be intentional about the type of content I was consuming, and that was mainly via TikTok and YouTube. I was listening to videos, TikToks around, learning to hear yourself again, learning to peel back the layers and understand what was really going on. And I was reading more. I was spending a lot more time in nature. I was spending a lot more time by myself, contemplating, journaling, instead of being in the rush of social media. I had been someone that was constantly engaged on social media, especially Instagram, with my business and an organization that I used to run. So I constantly had many voices in my ear, not just from social media, from friends, family, my social circles. And I had learned to gain my cues of what to do with my life based off of what I was told, based off of what I consumed. And I needed to cut off that supply. I was addicted to being told who I should be and what I should do. It's something I had done all my life, growing up as an eldest millennial daughter who did exactly what she was told. In the end, I took off a full year of social media, and radical as it was really the simplest cure for my soul. I allowed myself to start asking the correct questions instead of chasing after the perfect answers. It really felt amazing to finally hear myself again in that nothingness. If you find that nothing is working for you, you are maybe even reading all these self-help books, you're watching TikToks or YouTube videos or podcasts, you're attending workshops, whatever it may be, speaking to friends, advisors, and nothing is really hitting home. It feels like you're putting in all this work and you're just hitting against a brick wall. I invite you to just do nothing. Just switch off, turn off the noise, get off social media. You can decide what that looks like for you, and it will introduce you to some amazing gifts that will impact your life in a beautiful way. So I'd like to introduce you to the 5 gifts of doing nothing, 5 gifts that I received during my time off social media. The first one was reclaiming my intuition. Intuition is something that we're all inherently born with. I mean, think about it. A child intuitively knows, without having been told, to cry a certain cry, to ask for food, to ask for their diaper to be changed, to say that they're feeling hot or cold or uncomfortable. And sadly, over time, our intuition is sort of drowned out because we are taking instructions from everything and everyone outside of ourselves. And so taking the time to switch off really allowed me to dial into that intuition once more. Your intuition is your power. You actually don't even need anyone to tell you what to do, not even me. Other people can inspire that, which is why channels like mine are created. However, at the end of the day, you ultimately know what you need and how you need it. So allow the gift of nothingness to reclaim your intuition, to allow you to tune back into that inner knowing that nobody else has access to. The second thing is I learned to make decisions for myself. I made choices not out of fear, not out of comparison to other people, not out of a need to please, but I made decisions truthfully and honestly to what my intuition spoke to me and what I needed in those moments. And it started with really small decisions, like pausing to think before I ate a certain food, deciding what food I was feeling like my body wanted me to consume, or what I needed in each moment. Maybe I needed to nap, maybe I needed to go outside, be in nature. I started tuning in more quickly into those, so it helps you make decisions that are best for you. The third gift of doing nothing was that I discovered new possibilities. So the thing is, when you're overwhelmed with so much stimuli, so many messages coming in from many different directions, it actually causes you to become tunnel visioned or almost blind. You can't see clearly. You think you're seeing because that's what you're being told with all this messaging, but actually it's putting the wool over your eyes. And being able to do nothing, being quiet, allows you to hyper tune into your spidey senses, so to speak, and to start noticing things that you were not able to notice when all of this noise was just coming in from different corners. So when you do nothing, when you take that time off, you are able to see new paths, new ways of being, new ways of thinking, new possibilities, and new ways of seeing yourself that you were not able to when you were over consuming all that noise. So the fourth gift of doing nothing was that I was able to heal my self-perception. As a recovering people pleaser, an eldest daughter, millennial, but more to do with my personality, I tend to move towards comparing myself to other people, and that was really crippling for me for a very long time. And doing nothing, when you're not seeing what everybody else is doing, so to speak, which on social media is actually not even a true reflection of what's happening, your brain relaxes in that aspect. You're able to focus more on yourself and what's happening in real time. You're more present with yourself and your life. And when I was able to do that, it healed so much of how I viewed myself, what I felt I was capable of doing, what I was worthy of. And I began to soften towards myself more. I began to trust myself more, to love myself more. And so I invite you to, in that time of doing nothing, allow it to heal your view of who you are and what's available and what's possible for you and your life. The fifth and final gift for me was clarifying what no longer belonged. There's not enough said about this, but in a culture that is hyper fixated on consumption and getting, we rarely allow the gift of release in our lives. And during that time of doing nothing, I was able to recognize things that I had been holding on to that I needed to let go of. Jobs, physical environments, friendships, relationships, mindsets. that allowed me to make that shift and that move from Harare to Prague, Czech Republic, for example. That was just one of the things I was able to release, and to walk down a fresh path for myself. And so allow the gift of doing nothing to clear the fog, to clear the way, the path, so you can see better what is no longer serving you, what's holding you back from really blooming boldly and becoming the amazing woman you were always meant to be. And I'm eternally grateful for those gifts. There were more, but those were the 5 main ones I wanted to share with you. If you'd like to hear more, please, by all means, let me know. I just want to invite you to recognize it's okay to be in winter. You know, there's this unnecessary pressure in our culture today, in our society, to always be doing, to always be hustling, even in terms of healing and our well-being, be doing something to become whole, to become healed. And that can be really tiring. You know, there are 4 seasons in nature, and nature is a true teacher for our own personal lives. You know, in winter, the ground is still, plants, flowers don't blossom, you know, things are at ease, they're at rest, and it looks dead on the outside, but deep down underneath, where we cannot see, things are being restored, they're being regenerated quietly, slowly, sacredly. And it's the same for your life. You know, when you do nothing, when you allow yourself to pause, you are allowing things that have been dormant, that you don't naturally access, to come up again, to be reignited, rejuvenated. And if nature can afford itself the opportunity to rest, to pause, why can you not do the same? You should be able to do the same. In fact, you need to do the same. So to the woman who's tired, not just in her body, but in her soul, her spirit, I want to invite you to embrace your season of winter. Even after watching this video, just allow, let go, release, be still. You're in your winter, let it be. Allow it to nourish you. Allow yourself to receive for once. Spring will come for you, and when it does, it'll be beautiful. It'll be amazing, and you'll understand why the season of winter was so necessary. I'm now living a life in Prague that I did not once have the energy to even imagine, and that life came about because of doing nothing. It's a cheat code that many of us are missing. And so I invite you at this time to do nothing. I want to ask you, what is one way you are going to choose to do nothing every single day, no matter how small, to allow room and space for your winter process to unravel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys, and let me know in the comments what you resonated with, what you'd like me to expand on. If you have any questions about anything else, about blooming a little later in life, or being a more reserved woman who wants to show up in their life, in the world boldly, I'm always happy to share. And remember, until next time, life is beautiful and you have time.